Man is a rope stretched between animal and overman, a rope over an abyss, a dangerous crossing, a dangerous on the way, a dangerous looking back, and a dangerous trembling and stopping. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. What can be loved in man is that he is an overgoer and an undergoer. I love those who know not how to live except as undergoers, for they are the ones that go over. I love the great despisers, because they are the great reverers, and arrows of longing for the other shore. I love those who do not first seek a reason beyond the stars for going under and being sacrifices, but sacrifice themselves to the earth, that the earth of the overman may someday arrive. I love those who live in order to know, and seeks to know, in order that the overman may someday live. Thus he seeks his own undergoing. I love those who work and invent, that he may build a house for the overman, and prepare for him earth, animal, and plant, for thus he seeks his own undergoing. I love those who love his virtue, for virtue is the will to undergoing, and an arrow of longing. I love those who reserve no drop of spirit for himself, but wants to be entirely the spirit of his virtue. Thus he walks as spirit over the bridge. I love those who makes his virtue his addiction and destiny. Thus, for the sake of his virtue, he is willing to live on and live no more. I love those who do not desire too many virtues. One virtue is more than a virtue than two, because it is more of a knot for one's destiny to cling to. I love those whose soul squanders itself, who wants no thanks and gives none back, for he always gives and desires not to preserve himself. I love those who are ashamed when the dice fall in his favor, and who then ask, "Am I a dishonest player?" For he is willing to perish. I love those who scatters golden words in front of his deeds, and always does more than he promises, for he seeks his own downgoing. I love those who justify those people of the future, and redeems those of the past, for he is willing to perish by those of the present. I love those who chasten his God, because he loves his God, for he must perish by the wrath of his God. I love those whose soul is deep, even in being wounded, and may perish from a small experience. Thus goes he gladly over the bridge. I love those whose soul is so overfull that he forgets himself, and all things are in him. Thus all things become his undergoing. I love those who are of a free spirit and a free heart. Thus is his head only the entrails of his heart. His heart, however, drives him to go under. I love all who are like heavy drops falling one by one out of the dark cloud that hangs over man. They herald the coming of the lightning and perish as heralds. Behold, I am a herald of the lightning, and a heavy drop out of the cloud. The lightning, however, is called overman. When Zarathustra had spoken these words, he again looked at the people, and they were silent. There they stand, he said to his heart. There they laugh. They do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. Must one smash their ears first, that they may learn to hear with their eyes? Must one clatter like kettle drums and preachers of repentance? Or do they only believe the stammerer? They have something of which they are proud. What do they call it, that which makes them proud? Education they call it. Culture they call it. It distinguishes them from the goat herds. Therefore, they dislike to hear the word contempt applied to themselves. So I will appeal to their pride. I will speak to them of the most contemptible thing, that is, the last man. And thus spoke Zarathustra to the people. It is time for man to set a goal for himself. It is time for man to plant the seed of his highest hope. His soil is still rich enough for it, but that soil will one day be poor and exhausted, and no lofty tree will any longer be able to grow on it. Alas, there will come a time when man will no longer launch the arrow of his longing beyond himself, and the string of his bow will have unlearned to sing. I say to you, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. I say to you, you still have chaos in yourself. Alas, there will come a time when man can no longer give birth to any star. Alas, there will come a time of the most despicable man, who can no longer despise himself. Behold, we will meet the last man.